John Nichols shares his process for writing fiction.
What gives you inspiration? What moves you to create these worlds and these characters?
First of all, I have an imagination that's gone crazy ever since I was 2 years old. I grew up in a family that, told stories, family stories.
But you mentioned everything is fiction when we were talking earlier. What did you mean by that?
If you want to know the truth, you got to invent it. Fiction gives you a freedom that you really don't have in nonfiction or almost any other art in a way, because you can talk about the innermost thoughts of somebody. You can talk about all kinds of obscenity and stuff. You can talk about murder and mayhem that resides in every human being. You can deal with anything. And when you're writing nonfiction, you are really bound by not being able to reveal this, or you don't know that about a certain person. You have to be very aware of libel, you have to be very aware of invasion of privacy. All those kinds of things put a censorship on it. I remember very vividly when I was 12 years old, and I remember lying in bed and going crazy because I couldn't get inside other people's brains. And it really drove me nuts. It's a powerful memory I have. And so stories were a way of trying to get into other people's heads.
Do you ever feel like you live your fictions?
Every piece of fiction is based on reality. It's based on your own experience. You change the names to protect the innocent or whatever, stuff like that. When I create characters, it's like a police artist. You take the eyes from here, you take the nose from there, you take the lips from someplace else, you take the ears, and you put together a composite that is an original human being, but it's made up of all the parts of people that you may have known. I once was in a VW bus taking a bunch of elderly people from Peñasco down to the state capitol in Santa Fe in a demonstration against welfare cuts. And while I'm driving my VW bus down, there's an elderly gentleman sitting beside me, and he tells me about his father who just refused to die. And I took that story and created a character, Amarante Cordova, in the Milagro Beanfield War, that does the same thing. He refuses to die. He goes through all these hideous illnesses and problems and accidents, and he still won't die, right? And for me, this single character became a symbol for the Chicano culture, the Hispanic culture, that no matter what happened, whether it was, American conquest or this problem or that problem, segregation in the schools, yada, yada, they refused to give up. And people always joke with me that I created Amarante Cordova and that now I've become him.
How do you arrive at your stories through this practice of writing?
I have the stories in my head, and then it's a question of the writing is the tool. It's like I figure, okay, I want to build a house, and the writing is the tools that I would use to build the house. But I have in my mind an image, sort of the house, and then I just try and figure out, okay, how can the writing bring this about? Often I'll begin with a real event, and then it changes in 100 different ways while I'm working on it, while I'm trying to explain the so-called real events.
Do you feel like writing can solve some of our problems?
I feel that writing can really help. My life has been imbued, my education, by thousands of books. I read a lot,
So on a much more individual, personal level, writing, different than, let's say, a political act or a piece of legislation, that the writing actually creates this personal transformation.
You know, I had a real problem during the 1960s because I got politicized basically through the anti-Vietnam War movement, which led to then becoming politicized in a general way against American imperialism in Latin America, civil rights. You know, the civil rights movement was really important in my growing up. All these things affected me enormously. But I felt that being a writer in America, I couldn't make enough of a dent in the what I thought were terrible things happening, particularly the Vietnam War. I wrote a lot of anti-war novels, most of which never got published, because I was very shrill and very angry, and I wanted to change. I wanted to stop the war. So part of my art and my artwork, I felt the need to be polemical in a way that can really affect people's feelings and change the nature of how they, you know, they view the system that controls us.
Do you still feel that way?
If you're a serious writer, you can add to the positive culture in a million ways. You can be Picasso and paint Guernica, his famous painting against the air raids. And that painting has stood for people for decades as a huge symbol against those atrocities, right?
What character does New Mexico play in your work?
Obviously, I mean, one, I really love New Mexico. I've lived here for 44 years now. When I came to New Mexico, I didn't realize that the land would become as important to me, you know, as the people. But the people are connected to the land. So New Mexico runs throughout everything that I've done. And one thing I love about New Mexico, it's not homogeneous. There's all kinds of people in New Mexico, you know, all kinds of culture, all kinds of languages. My own family, if you didn't speak 3 languages, that was real, que sin vergüenza, you know. It's like, so I really love living in an area where there's many different ethnic groups, you know, all of whom have amazing cultural complexities, you know. And also there are many classes. I would be very, very uncomfortable living in like a homogeneous middle class place.